The Arctic is melting, but where some see environmental catastrophe, others see economic opportunity. Welcome back to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. The Arctic is melting.
The Arctic is melting so fast, the North Pole could be ice-free during the summer within the next decade or two.
Now, some people hear that and are all like, oh no, humanity is going extinct. But where some people see doom and gloom, others see opportunity. Russia and China aren't complaining, they're preparing to exploit it. This map is from the Arctic Institute. The North Pole is in the middle. The map shows how climate models predict the polar ice cap will get smaller over the coming decades. And as the ice melts, ships can travel more easily through the region. And that opens up new shipping lanes connecting Asia, Europe, and North America. Compared to going through the Panama Canal, the Arctic shipping lanes are shorter and cheaper. And it's not just shipping lanes that make the Arctic so valuable. The U.S. Geological Survey estimates the Arctic holds about 13% of the world's undiscovered oil reserves and 30% of the natural gas reserves.
All in all, the Arctic holds about 22% of the world's undiscovered hydrocarbon resources.
And the Trump administration sees opportunity in the Arctic too. Last year, the Department of Defense released a new Arctic strategy. It says, the Arctic's physical environment continues to change, including through diminished sea ice coverage, declining snow cover, and melting ice sheets. See? Trump does believe in climate change. But like I said earlier, it's not just the U.S. eyeing opportunities in the Arctic. Certain, shall we say, authoritarian regimes are also making unreasonable claims upon a huge part of the Arctic. Can you guess which country I'm talking about? It starts with a C. That's right, Canada. Canada claims all these coastal waters along the Northwest Passage as its own territory. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has called Canada's claims illegitimate. I've always said this day was coming. My fellow Americans, prepare yourselves for the inevitable U.S.-Canada war. We shall take their vast reserves of maple syrup and poutine. They can keep the curling. What's that, Shelley? Okay, the U.S. is also disputing Russia's and China's Arctic claims. So prepare yourselves for the inevitable U.S., Canada, Russia, China war. Obviously, a lot of countries see the potential of the Arctic, and they each want to stake their claim. So to deal with the growing complexities of dealing with all these competing claims, the U.S. has created a new government position, the Arctic Policy Czar. Look upon him and despair. Sorry, wrong photo. This is the guy, James DeHart. Yeah, that's it. Look upon him and despair. Okay, his official title is U.S. Coordinator for the Arctic region, but Arctic Policy Czar sounds way cooler. Well, colder at least. He will be responsible for representing the U.S. State Department and advising them on Arctic policy and engaging other Arctic nations in regional talks. He's got a tough job. He has to balance the fact that several countries have to work together in the Arctic with the fact that it's also a U.S. national security issue. The U.S. state of Alaska has a long and exposed border along the Arctic Ocean. DeHart said, the U.S. aims to maintain the region as a zone of international cooperation, but also recognizes that the Arctic is NATO's northern flank. And that's a huge piece of the Arctic strategy I mentioned earlier. The strategy acknowledges that the Arctic is strategic terrain as a potential vector for an attack on the U.S. homeland. A lot of countries border the Arctic besides the U.S. There's Greenland, which is part of Denmark, plus Iceland, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Those guys are cool. And then there's Canada, which I'm willing to forgive because of the maple syrup. And then, of course, there's Russia and China, who are both making aggressive claims there. Wait, China? China is not close to the Arctic. But when has the Chinese Communist Party ever let reality affect what territory they claim? They say China is a near-Arctic state, and they want a polar Silk Road.
China is determined to better know the Arctic, protect the Arctic, utilize the Arctic, and participate in the governance of the Arctic.
That is not something the U.S. is okay with.
Beijing claims to be a near-Arctic state, yet the shortest distance between China and the Arctic is 900 miles. There are only Arctic states and non-Arctic states. No third category exists, and claiming otherwise entitles China to exactly nothing.
But while China is not an Arctic state, they're definitely trying to gain influence in the region, including by buying mines in Arctic regions, opening up Arctic research centers with countries like Iceland and Finland, and working with Russia on a deep water port in the Arctic. And speaking of, while Russia does actually border the Arctic, it's not acting any friendlier. Russia is basically doing in the Arctic Ocean what China is doing in the South China Sea, demanding that other countries recognize its territorial claims. And if they don't, well, maybe these military drills will change their mind.
In the Northern Sea route, Moscow already illegally demands other nations request permission to pass, requires Russian maritime pilots to be aboard foreign ships, and threatens to use military force to sink any that fail to comply with their demands.
And this is why the U.S. is taking a greater interest in the Arctic, and why we now have an Arctic policy czar. DeHart spent 28 years in the Foreign Service, served as a senior advisor for security negotiations, including overseeing negotiations between the U.S. and South Korea over U.S. military presence on the Korean Peninsula. And, most important of all, he is a powerful waterbender. But creating an Arctic policy czar is just the most recent thing the U.S. has done related to the government's Arctic strategy. Other things include plans to acquire a fleet of icebreakers, very useful at parties, the June 10th reopening of the U.S. consulate in Nuuk, Greenland, and Mr. Pompeo's recent meetings in Copenhagen with the Danish, Greenlandic, and Faroes foreign ministers. Hopefully, that means that in the inevitable U.S., Canada, Russia, China war, the Danish will be on our side. So what do you think of how the U.S. and other countries are pursuing their interests in the Arctic Circle? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.